Hana looked up from her translation tablet as the ship shook again. The lights in the diplomatic cabin flickered, casting strange shadows on the metal walls. She pushed her black hair behind her ear and tried to focus on the peace treaty text in front of her. The words seemed to blur together as another tremor ran through the ship. "Just engine adjustments," said Ambassador Kim Tae-ho from across the room. He was a tall man with gray hair who always wore dark suits. His voice sounded calm, but Hana noticed his hands were shaking slightly as he held his coffee cup. The ship was called Harmony's Edge, and it was supposed to be one of the safest vessels in space. It carried important people from different alien races who were trying to make peace. Hana was there to translate between all the different languages. She was good at her job, maybe the best translator humanity had ever trained. Around the table sat beings that still amazed her even after 2 years of diplomatic work. Zethmore was a Korthak, standing nearly 8 feet tall with green scales that reflected the cabin lights. His people looked like giant lizards that walked on 2 legs. They were warriors who valued honor above everything else. Clickandra represented the Hivan Collective. She was much smaller, about Hana's size, but her forearms moved constantly as she spoke. Her people looked like insects, with large compound eyes that saw everything. They were incredibly smart and could solve problems faster than most computers. Both races had been fighting for decades in the Vega system. Thousands of ships had been destroyed. Millions had died. The war seemed endless until the human diplomats offered to help make peace. "The translation of Section 7 is complete," Hana said quietly. She always spoke softly during meetings. Most aliens thought humans were weak, so she tried not to draw attention to herself. Let them think she was just a small, quiet woman who was good with languages. Zethmore looked at her with his yellow eyes. "You work quickly for a human," he said. His voice was deep and rough like rocks grinding together. "Your people are useful, even if you cannot fight." Hana smiled politely and looked down at her tablet. If only he knew, she thought. But that was the point. Nobody was supposed to know. Clickandra's 4 hands moved over her own device. "The linguistic patterns are fascinating," she clicked. "Humans learn languages faster than any species we have studied. Very efficient minds, but such fragile bodies." "We do our best," Ambassador Kim said with a diplomatic smile. He had been doing this job for 20 years and knew exactly what to say. "Our strength has always been in bringing people together through understanding." The ship shook again, harder this time. Hana's tablet slipped from her hands and clattered to the floor. The lights went out completely for 3 seconds before emergency power kicked in. Red lights bathed everything in an eerie glow. "That was not the engines," Zethmore growled. He stood up, his massive frame towering over everyone else. His hand moved to where his ceremonial sword hung at his side. Korthak warriors never went anywhere without their blades, even to peace talks. Clickandra's compound eyes turned toward the ceiling, then to the walls, then back to the ceiling. Her people could process visual information incredibly fast. "Multiple heat signatures approaching from the starboard side," she announced. "Unknown vessels, military configurations." Ambassador Kim pressed a button on the table. "Bridge, this is the diplomatic cabin. What's our status?" The response came through crackling static. "Ambassador, we have unknown ships closing fast. They're not responding to our signals. Shields are failing. We're trying to—" The transmission cut off as the ship lurched violently to one side. Hana grabbed the edge of the table to keep from falling. Through the small window, she could see bright flashes of weapons fire. "Pirates," Zethmore said, drawing his sword. The metal gleamed even in the red emergency lighting. "They attack a diplomatic vessel. There is no honor in this." Clickandra was already moving toward the door, her 4 arms working on different devices at once. "We must reach the escape pods. This vessel cannot survive a sustained attack." Hana stood up and smoothed down her simple gray dress. She looked like any other civilian caught in a dangerous situation. Her heart was beating fast, but not from fear. It was from something else entirely, something she had been trained to control for many years. "Everyone stay calm. Ambassador Kim said. He moved toward a wall panel and started entering codes. There are secure areas on this ship. We just need to. The lights went out again. This time they stayed out. In the darkness, Hana heard the sound of metal being cut. Somewhere in the ship, the pirates were burning through the hull. Emergency lighting, Clickandra said. Small lights appeared around her wrist devices, casting blue glows in the darkness. Hull breach detected, multiple entry points. Heavy footsteps echoed through the corridors outside their cabin. Voices shouted in a language Hana recognized immediately. Crimson Fleet pirates. They were some of the most dangerous criminals in this part of the galaxy. The door, Zethmore whispered. He pointed his sword toward the entrance to their cabin. They are coming. Hana moved quietly to her bag and reached inside. Her fingers touched several items that looked like normal translator equipment. Data, tablets, language processors, communication devices. All standard gear for a diplomatic translator. But in the very bottom of the bag, hidden beneath everything else, her fingers found something different. Something cold and smooth and perfectly balanced. Something that felt like home in her hand. The door exploded inward. Smoke filled the room as armed figures in dark armor rushed inside. Their leader was a massive creature with gray skin and too many teeth. His species was called Bruggen, and they were known for being cruel even by pirate standards. Nobody move, the leader shouted in broken galactic standard. We want the treaty. Give us the peace documents and maybe you live. Zethmore raised his sword, but 3 plasma rifles pointed at his chest immediately. Even a Korthak warrior could not fight that many weapons at once. Smart lizard, the pirate leader laughed. Now where are the documents? Ambassador Kim stepped forward with his hands raised. I am the human ambassador. The treaty is in the ship's secure computer system. You cannot access it without proper codes. Then you give us codes, the pirate said. He pointed his weapon at Hana. Or we start killing the small ones first. Hana looked up at the pirate leader. She appeared completely calm, just a frightened translator caught in a bad situation. Her hand was still in her bag, still touching that cold, smooth object. Please, she said in a small voice. I'm just a translator. I don't know anything about treaties or codes. The pirate laughed again. Weak humans, always crying. He moved his weapon closer to her face. Maybe we kill you first. Show the others. We are serious. That was when Hana made her decision. Her fingers closed around the object in her bag. After 15 years of hiding, of pretending to be something she was not, it was time. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity had been keeping secrets. The pirate leader pressed his plasma rifle against Hana's forehead. The metal felt cold against her skin. She could smell the ozone from the weapon's energy cells and hear the low hum that meant it was ready to fire. Count of 3, little human, the pirate growled. 1. Hana's hand remained perfectly still in her bag. She looked up at the massive Bruggen with wide, frightened eyes. Just a scared translator. That's all anyone saw. 2. Ambassador Kim stepped forward. Wait, please. She really doesn't know anything. I have the codes you want. 3. Hana's hand moved faster than anyone could follow. What came out of her bag was not a translation device. It was a blade unlike anything the aliens had ever seen. The katana was 3 feet of pure monomolecular steel, its edge so sharp it could cut through solid metal like paper. Energy flowed along its surface, making it glow with a soft, blue light. Ancient human craftsmanship merged with modern technology to create something beautiful and deadly. The pirate leader had exactly enough time to look surprised before Hana's blade passed through his rifle. The weapon fell to the floor in 2 pieces, sparks flying from its broken power cells. What? He started to say. Hana spun gracefully, her blade singing through the air. The edge passed through the pirate's armor like it wasn't there. He looked down at his chest in confusion, then collapsed. The other pirates started to raise their weapons, but Hana was already moving. She flowed between them like water, her blade cutting through plasma bolts as if they were solid objects. The energy beams split apart and scattered harmlessly against the walls. One pirate managed to fire directly at her. Hana twisted her body and brought her sword up in a perfect arc. The plasma bolt hit the blade and dissolved into nothing more than pretty lights. Impossible, Zethmore whispered. His sword hung forgotten in his massive hand. Clickandra's compound eyes were tracking Hana's movements, but even her enhanced reflexes couldn't follow the speed of the human's attacks. No species moves that fast, she said. The human body cannot. Another pirate fell, then another. Hana's blade found gaps in their armor that shouldn't have existed, struck nerve clusters that no human should have known about. She fought with perfect knowledge of every alien species in the galaxy. The last pirate turned to run. Hana threw her blade with casual precision. It spun through the air and took him down before he reached the door. The katana embedded itself in the metal wall with a soft chiming sound. Silence filled the cabin. Emergency lights cast red shadows on the bodies scattered across the floor. Hana walked calmly to retrieve her weapon, pulling it free from the wall as if it weighed nothing. "Hana," Ambassador Kim said quietly. His voice carried no surprise, only sadness. "It's time, isn't it?" She turned to face the room. The other aliens stared at her with expressions of shock and confusion. The quiet little translator now held a blood-stained sword in her hands, and her eyes were completely calm. "Time for what?" Zethmore demanded. His warrior instincts were telling him to attack, but something deeper warned him to be very careful. "What are you?" Hana cleaned her blade on a piece of cloth from her bag, then slid it into a sheath that had been hidden beneath her dress. She had been carrying it all along and nobody had noticed. "I am what I always said I was," she replied. "A translator. I help people understand each other." "That was not translation," Clickandra said. Her 4 hands moved nervously over her devices. "That was combat efficiency beyond any recorded human capability." Ambassador Kim sat down heavily in his chair. He looked older now, tired in a way that went beyond physical exhaustion. "Tell them, Hana. They deserve to know." Hana nodded. She smoothed down her dress and sat back in her chair, looking once again like a quiet young woman. But now everyone could see the way she held herself, the perfect balance, the awareness in her eyes. 50 years ago, when humanity first met alien civilizations, we learned something important, she began. We were not the strongest species. We were not the fastest or the smartest or the most advanced. In almost every way that mattered, we were at the bottom. "Your people adapted," Zethmore said. "You found your place through diplomacy and trade." "That's what we wanted you to think," Hana said. "But adaptation means more than just finding a peaceful role. It means preparing for every possibility." She stood up and walked to the window. Outside, the pirate ships were moving away from the damaged diplomatic vessel. They had gotten what they came for, or thought they had. "The Shadow Protocol," Ambassador Kim said. "Project 0 Hour, humanity's insurance policy." Clickandra's eyes focused on both humans with laser intensity. "Explain these terms." "While our diplomats were making friends and trade agreements," Hana said, "our military leaders were asking different questions. What if peaceful cooperation failed? What if someone decided humanity was too weak to deserve a place in the galaxy? You prepared for war," Zethmore said. "It wasn't a question. A warrior recognized another warrior, even when they tried to hide." "We prepared for survival," Hana corrected. "Every human in diplomatic service received additional training. Language specialists learned to fight. Cultural attachés studied alien anatomy. Scientists memorized the weak points of every species they worked with." "How many?" Clickandra asked. "How many of your diplomats are actually warriors?" Ambassador Kim and Hana exchanged a look. "All of them," the ambassador said quietly. The room fell silent again. Zethmore slowly sheathed his ceremonial sword. Clickandra's hand stopped moving over her devices. Both aliens were processing the implications of what they had just learned. "You have been studying us," Clickandra said. "Learning our weaknesses. Learning how to protect ourselves," Hana said. "Every species has advantages. Korthak are stronger and faster than humans. Hivan are smarter and more coordinated. We needed to find ways to even the odds." "By becoming assassins," Zethmore growled. Becoming survivors, Hana replied. I have spent 15 years learning your languages, your cultures, your biology. I genuinely want peace between our peoples. But if peace fails, I will do whatever is necessary to protect humanity. The ship shuddered as repair systems activated. Somewhere in the distance, they could hear crew members working to fix the damage from the pirate attack. The pirates knew about the treaty, Ambassador Kim said. This wasn't a random attack. Someone hired them. Someone who wants the war to continue, Hana agreed. Someone who profits from the fighting between Korthak and Hivan. Clickandra's eyes turned toward the destroyed door. If there are other attacks coming, conventional security will not be sufficient. No, Hana said. It won't be. Zethmore looked at her with new understanding. You are not just a translator anymore. I never was just a translator, Hana said. But now you know what else I am. She walked back to her bag and began collecting her translation equipment. But now everyone could see the other items hidden among the innocent-looking devices. Tools that had nothing to do with languages and everything to do with staying alive in a dangerous galaxy. The question is, she said, looking at each alien in turn, what happens now that you know humanity's secret? Outside the window, stars wheeled slowly past as the ship continued its journey toward the Vega system. But the mission had changed. It was no longer just about making peace between two alien races. Now it was about deciding what kind of galaxy they all wanted to live in. 3 hours after the pirate attack, Hana stood in the ship's damaged communications room. Sparks flew from broken panels as repair crews worked around her. She held a small device that looked like a normal translation computer, but the display showed encrypted messages that no ordinary translator would ever see. Blade 7, this is Blade 1, she spoke quietly into the device. Protocol 7 is active, cover blown, requesting immediate contact with all assets. The response came in seconds. Blade 1, this is Blade 7. Understood. Blade 3. And Blade 5 are standing by. Hana felt relief wash over her. The Shadow Protocol network was still intact. She wasn't alone in this anymore. Ambassador Kim entered the communications room, looking tired and worried. How many know? He asked. The Korthak delegation is arguing in their quarters, Hana replied. Half want to report this to their government immediately. The other half think we're too valuable to expose. And the Hivan? Clicandra is running calculations. She's trying to figure out how many humans in the galaxy might have hidden training. Hana smiled grimly. She's very smart. Her estimates are probably accurate. Kim sat down on a damaged chair. 50 years of careful diplomacy, and it ends because pirates attacked our ship. It ends because someone wants it to end, Hana corrected. The attack wasn't random. Pirates don't usually target diplomatic vessels. Too much risk, not enough profit. Unless someone paid them very well, Kim said. Hana nodded. I've been thinking about who benefits from continued war in the Vega system. The weapons dealers certainly, maybe some military leaders who gain power during wartime. Her communicator chimed with an incoming message. Blade 1, this is Blade 3. I have information about your pirate problem. Go ahead, Blade 3. Real, name Park Jinwoo. Currently serving as cultural attaché on Kepler Station. I've been tracking weapons shipments to the Vega system. Someone's been selling advanced plasma rifles to both sides. Who? General Thokran of the Korthak 3rd Fleet. He's supposed to be supporting the peace talks, but he's been secretly selling weapons through criminal contacts. Hana felt the pieces clicking together in her mind. He hired the pirates to steal the treaty. If the peace agreement disappears, the war continues and he keeps making money. Ambassador Kim frowned. Thokran is one of the most respected Korthak generals. His family has served in their military for centuries, which makes him perfect for this kind of operation, Hana said. Nobody would suspect him. The ship shook again as they dropped out of hyperspace. Through the damaged windows, Hana could see a space station hanging in the darkness. It was called Haven Point, a neutral facility where ships could dock for repairs. We need to be careful here, Kim said. Thokran probably has agents watching. For us. Hana was already checking her equipment. Her katana hung at her side, no longer hidden. Her translation tablets contained combat data on every species likely to be found on a frontier station. She had become what she was always trained to be. "I'm going to investigate," she said. "Find proof of Thokran's involvement. It's too dangerous. Let me contact Earth for backup. We don't have time. If Thokran realizes we survived the pirate attack, he'll either disappear or try again." Hana headed toward the door. "Besides, this is what I was trained for." The docking bay of Haven Point was crowded with beings from dozens of different species. Traders, miners, mercenaries, and refugees mixed together in the controlled chaos of a frontier station. Hana moved through the crowd like a shadow, her enhanced senses tracking potential threats. She had changed clothes. Instead of her diplomatic dress, she now wore dark pants and a jacket that hid her weapons. To most observers, she looked like any other human trader or tourist. But she moved differently now. Her steps were silent, her eyes constantly scanning. The quiet translator was gone, replaced by something much more dangerous. Her first stop was the station's main bar, a place called the Void's End. Criminal information always flowed through places like this. She ordered a drink and listened to conversations in a dozen different languages. Shipment from the Korthak fleet arrived yesterday. Thokran's people paying good money for discreet transport. Something big happening in the Vega system. Hana finished her drink and followed a group of Korthak traders into the station's lower levels. Here, away from the main commercial areas, deals were made that couldn't happen in the light. She found what she was looking for in a cargo bay that smelled of weapon lubricants and ozone. Crates marked with Korthak military symbols sat next to, others with Hivan markings. Someone was definitely selling to both sides. "You don't belong here, human." Hana turned slowly. 3 armed mercenaries blocked the exit. They were from different species, but all carried the same type of plasma rifle. Professional killers. "I'm just lost," she said, putting on her innocent translator voice. "Looking for the bathroom." The leader, a Bruggen like the pirate from earlier, laughed. "Wrong place to get lost, little human. This area is restricted." "Oh, I'm sorry, I'll just leave then." She started to walk toward them, looking embarrassed and scared. Just another helpless human who had wandered into the wrong place. The mercenaries relaxed slightly. That was their mistake. Hana's katana came out of its sheath faster than their eyes could follow. The first mercenary fell before his finger could reach his weapon's trigger. The second managed to raise his rifle, but Hana was already inside his guard, her blade finding the gap between his armor plates. The third mercenary was smarter. He dropped his weapon and raised his hands. "Please," he said. "I was just hired. Muscle, I don't know anything." "Who hired you?" Hana asked, her blade resting against his throat. "Korthak general. Big guy with scars on his neck. Said to watch for humans asking questions." "Thokran." "Yeah, that's the name. He's got a ship docked in the private bays. Level 7, Section C." Hana stepped back, lowering her sword. "Run," she said quietly. The mercenary ran. Hana examined the weapon crates more carefully. The serial numbers confirmed her suspicions. These were military-grade plasma rifles, stolen from Korthak armories and being sold to Hivan forces. Other crates contained Hivan energy weapons heading to Korthak buyers. Her communicator buzzed. "Blade 1, this is Blade 5. Go ahead." Real name Choi Minji, currently on the terraforming project in the Centauri system. "I've detected unusual financial transfers. Large amounts of money moving through criminal banks, all traced back to Korthak military accounts." "How large?" "Enough to buy a small fleet, or hire an army of pirates." Hana felt the pieces of the puzzle falling into place. Thokran wasn't just selling weapons, he was planning something much bigger. "Blade 5, can you track where that money's going?" "Working on it. But Blade 1, there's something else. I'm detecting increased military activity throughout the sector. Someone's moving ships into position." "For what?" "Unknown. But it's big." Hana left the cargo bay and headed for the station's upper levels. Level 7 was restricted to VIP guests, heavily guarded and extremely secure. Getting in would require all her skills. But first she needed to contact Ambassador Kim. If Thokran was planning something major, The peace treaty might be the least of their worries. The galaxy was about to become a much more dangerous place, and humanity's hidden warriors might be the only thing standing between peace and total war. Hana smiled grimly as she planned her infiltration of the general's private ship. After 15 years of pretending to be helpless, it felt good to finally use her real skills. The translator was gone. The warrior had work to do. Level 7 of Haven. Point Station looked like a luxury hotel. Soft lights, expensive decorations, and guards who tried to look like regular security but carried military-grade weapons. Hana studied the area from a maintenance corridor, watching patrol patterns and counting exits. General Thokran's ship sat in the most secure docking bay. It was a Korthak heavy cruiser, designed for war but modified for a general's comfort. 24 guards surrounded it and energy shields protected the docking bay entrance. Hana activated her communicator. Blade 3, Blade 5, this is Blade 1. I need a distraction. What kind of distraction? Park Jinwoo's voice came through, clearly. Something big enough to draw attention away from Level 7. I can arrange a small explosion in the lower cargo bays, Choi Minji offered. Make it look like an accident. Do it. I need 10 minutes to get inside Thokran's ship. Understood. Explosions in 3 minutes. Hana moved through the maintenance tunnels with practiced silence. 15 years of training had taught her to navigate any environment, and space stations all had similar layouts. She reached a position directly above the general's docking bay, just as alarms started blaring throughout the station. Attention all personnel. The station's announcement system crackled. Emergency in Cargo Bay 12. All security teams report immediately. Through the tunnel's access grate, Hana watched half the guards run toward the elevators. The remaining dozen were still too many to fight directly, but now she had options. She dropped from the ceiling into the docking bay's control room. The single operator inside turned around in surprise, but Hana's blade was already at his throat. Disable the energy shields, she whispered. Quietly. The operator's hands shook as he worked the controls. The invisible barrier around the ship flickered and disappeared. Good. Now, sleep. Hana struck a precise nerve cluster at the base of his neck. The operator slumped forward, unconscious but unharmed. He would wake up in a few hours with only a headache. Getting aboard the ship required more direct action. Hana moved like a shadow across the docking bay floor, using cargo containers for cover. When a guard looked in her direction, she was already somewhere else. The ship's boarding ramp was guarded by 2 Korthak soldiers. Hana studied them for a moment, then picked up a small piece of metal debris. She threw it across the bay, where it clanged against a wall. Both guards moved to investigate. The noise. Hana slipped past them and into the ship. The interior was exactly what she expected from a Korthak general. Heavy furniture, weapon displays, and banners showing military honors. But Hana wasn't here for sightseeing. She needed to find evidence of Thokran's illegal activities. The ship's computer system was protected by military encryption, but Hana had been trained to deal with alien technology. Her fingers moved quickly over the control panels, bypassing security protocols with techniques learned from years of studying Korthak systems. Come on, she whispered as data files scrolled past. Where are you hiding your secrets? She found them in a hidden partition labeled as personal records, financial transactions, communication logs, and shipping manifests that told the whole story. Thokran had been selling weapons to both sides of the Vega conflict for 3 years. The profits were enormous. But that wasn't the worst part. According to the files, he was planning to escalate the war by staging a false flag attack. Korthak ships under his command would attack a Hivan colony while broadcasting fake human identification signals. Both alien races would blame humanity for breaking the peace. You clever monster, Hana breathed. Start a 3-way war and sell weapons to everyone. She was copying the files to her portable device when footsteps echoed in the corridor outside. Heavy boots on metal flooring. Too many to hide from. Search every room, a rough voice commanded. The human is somewhere on this ship. Hana looked around the general's quarters. No other exits, and the single window showed only empty space. She was trapped, but she was also exactly where she needed to be. "General," she called out loudly, "I know you can hear me. We need to talk." The footsteps stopped. A moment later, General Thokran himself entered the room. He was even larger than most Korthak, with ritual scars covering his neck and arms. His uniform was covered in medals, from decades of military service. "The little translator," he said, his voice like grinding stone. "I wondered when you would find me." "You hired the pirates to steal the peace treaty," Hana said. She stood calmly in the center of the room, her hand resting on her sword's handle. "But that was just the beginning." "Very good. You are not as weak as you appear. Neither is humanity. That's something you're about to learn." Thokran laughed, a sound like rocks falling down a mountain. "One small human against my entire crew? You cannot fight us all." "I don't have to fight you all," Hana said. "I just have to fight you." "Impossible. I am a Korthak general. I have fought in more battles than you have years of life." "Yes, but you've never fought a human warrior." Hana drew her katana in one smooth motion. The monomolecular blade hummed with energy, its edge glowing in the dim light. Thokran's eyes widened slightly as he recognized the weapon's quality. "Your people study warfare," he admitted, "but study is not experience." "You're right," Hana said. "Let me show you the difference." Thokran drew his own sword, a massive two-handed blade that could cut through ship armor. He was stronger, larger, and more experienced. By every logical measure, he should have been able to kill the small human easily. But logic didn't account for 15 years of studying Korthak anatomy. Hana knew exactly where their major arteries ran, which nerve clusters would cause temporary paralysis, and how their balance worked when they moved. The general's first attack was powerful enough to dent the metal wall, but Hana wasn't there when the blade arrived. She had already moved, her katana finding the gap between armor plates at his shoulder. Green blood splattered across the expensive furniture. Thokran roared in pain and swung again, faster this time. But fast for a Korthak was still slow compared to a human trained in the Shadow Protocol. Hana's blade danced around his defenses, each cut precisely placed to disable rather than kill. She wanted him alive to face justice for his crimes. "Impossible." Thokran gasped as his sword arm went numb. "No human can move like this. We've had 50 years to prepare," Hana replied, stepping back as the general fell to his knees. 50 years to study every species in the galaxy, to learn your strengths and weaknesses. My crew will kill you." "No, they won't, because they're about to have bigger problems." As if summoned by her words, explosions echoed through the ship. Not the gentle boom of Minji's distraction, but the sharp crack of breaching charges. Through the window, Hana could see human shuttles approaching the station. "Backup?" Thokran asked weakly. "Better," Hana said. "The truth." Her communicator crackled to life. "Blade 1, this is Admiral Chen of the Earth Defense Force. We've received your evidence and are taking General Thokran into custody." Hana smiled. "Understood, Admiral. The general is secure." Thokran looked up at her with confusion and growing fear. "Your people came to rescue you?" "My people came to prevent a war," Hana corrected. "The same war you were planning to start." The door burst open and human soldiers poured into the room. They moved with the same deadly precision that Hana had shown, and their equipment was far more advanced than anyone had suspected. "You see," Hana said, as medical teams treated the general's wounds, "humanity didn't just train diplomats to fight. We've been preparing for this moment for 50 years. Every human in space has been waiting for the day when someone tried to destroy the peace we helped build." As the soldiers led Thokran away, he looked back at Hana with something like respect. "Your species is more dangerous than we knew." "We're exactly as dangerous as we need to be," Hana replied. "Nothing more, nothing less." The false translator was gone forever. In her place stood something the galaxy had never seen before. A human, warrior diplomat, trained for peace but ready for war. The Shadow Protocol was no longer a secret, and the galaxy would never be the same. The Galactic Council chamber had never been so quiet. Representatives from 43 different species sat in perfect silence, staring at the evidence displayed on the main screen. Financial records, weapon shipments, communication logs, and video footage of General Thokran's confession filled the massive displays. Hana sat at the human delegation's table, her katana resting openly across her knees. She no longer hid what she was. The simple gray dress was gone, replaced by a formal diplomatic uniform that accommodated her weapons. Around the chamber, other human diplomats sat with similar openness about their true nature. Ambassador Kim stood at the center podium, his voice carrying clearly through the vast space. "The evidence is complete," he said. "General Thokran admitted to selling weapons to both sides of the Vega conflict. He planned to escalate the war by staging false flag attacks that would have blamed humanity for breaking the peace." Zethmore rose from the Korthak delegation. The massive warrior looked older somehow, as if the events of the past week had aged him years. "The Korthak Empire condemns General Thokran's actions completely. He has brought dishonor to our military and our people." "The Hivan Collective agrees," Clickandra added, her four hands moving over data tablets. "Our analysis confirms that the weapon shipments would have prolonged the conflict for decades. Millions more would have died." The chamber erupted in voices as representatives from dozens of species began talking at once. Some expressed gratitude that the plot had been stopped. Others demanded explanations about humanity's hidden capabilities. A few called for sanctions against the human government for its deception. "Order!" The council speaker, an ancient being whose species was older than most civilizations, brought silence back to the chamber. "We will address each concern in proper sequence." Councillor Veltar of the Andorian Federation was the first to stand. "The question before us is not General Thokran's crimes," he said. "The question is whether humanity can be trusted after 50 years of deception." Murmurs of agreement rippled through several delegations. Hana felt the weight of their stares, the mixture of fear and anger in alien eyes that had thought they understood what humans were. "We never lied about our peaceful intentions," Ambassador Kim replied. "Every treaty we signed, every agreement we made, every promise of cooperation, all of that was genuine. We simply prepared for the possibility that peace might fail." "You embedded warriors in civilian missions," accused Councillor Thexani of the Beta Rigel Confederation. "You studied our weaknesses while pretending to be our friends." Hana stood up slowly. The chamber fell silent as she walked to the podium, her footsteps echoing in the vast space. When she spoke, her voice was calm, but carried clearly to every corner of the room. "I have spent 15 years learning your languages," she said, "studying your cultures, working to build understanding between our peoples. Every word I translated, every document I processed, every conversation I facilitated, all of it was real. I genuinely wanted peace. But you were also studying how to kill us," Veltar said bluntly. "I was studying how to survive," Hana corrected. "When humanity first encountered alien civilizations, we realized we were outmatched in almost every way. We were weaker, slower, less advanced. If any of you had decided we didn't deserve to exist, we would have been helpless." She gestured to the evidence still displayed on the screens. "Thokran proved that our fears were justified. He was willing to start a galactic war for profit. How many others like him exist? How many species see humans as useful tools to be discarded when convenient?" Clickandra's compound eyes focused on Hana with laser intensity. "So you prepared to fight the entire galaxy?" "We prepared to defend ourselves against anyone who threatened humanity's survival," Hana said. "But we never stopped hoping that we would never need to use that preparation." The ancient council speaker raised one gnarled hand. "What changes now?" he asked. "The secret is revealed. Trust has been damaged. How do we move forward?" Ambassador Kim returned to the podium. "We propose a new framework for galactic relations," he said. "Complete transparency about military capabilities, open sharing of defense technologies, and formal protocols for handling conflicts before they escalate to war." You want us to share our weapons technology? Veltar asked incredulously. We want everyone to understand that peace is stronger when backed by the ability to defend it, Kim replied. The Korthak have their warrior culture. The Hivan have their tactical brilliance. Humanity has our adaptability and preparation. Instead of hiding these strengths, we should use them together. A new voice spoke from the chamber's upper galleries. The human proposal has merit. Everyone turned to see who had spoken. It was Fleet Admiral Kreshatar, the most respected military leader in Korthak space. He descended to the main floor, his ceremonial armor gleaming under the chamber lights. I have reviewed the combat recordings from Haven Point Station, he said. The human warrior displayed perfect knowledge of Korthak physiology and psychology. She could have killed General Thokran easily, but chose to disable him instead. This shows both skill and restraint. The Hivan tactical analysis reaches similar conclusions, Clickandra added. Human combat efficiency exceeds theoretical maximums for their species, but their engagement protocols prioritize capture over elimination. They fight to protect, not to destroy. Zethmore stood again. The Korthak Empire wishes to formally request human military advisors for our peacekeeping forces. The chamber erupted, again. This time the voices were different. Surprise rather than anger, curiosity instead of fear. Hana felt something shift in the room's atmosphere. The revelation of humanity's hidden strength had initially caused fear and mistrust. But now, as alien leaders began to understand the restraint humans had shown, a different perspective was emerging. The Andorian Federation withdraws its objection to human membership in the Council, Veltar announced. We would also like to discuss mutual defense agreements. One by one, other delegations began making similar statements. The species that had initially been angry about humanity's deception were now asking for partnerships. Fear was transforming into respect. The council speaker called for a formal vote. All those in favor of accepting humanity's explanation and maintaining their full council membership, 41 of 43 delegations voted in favor. Only 2 abstained, and none voted against. The motion passes overwhelmingly. The speaker announced, Humanity retains its place in the Galactic Council. Furthermore, this body formally recognizes the human contribution to preventing galactic war. As the chamber filled with applause, Hana felt a weight lift from her shoulders. For 15 years, she had carried the burden of deception, pretending to be weak while preparing for war. Now that burden was gone. Ambassador Kim approached her as the other delegations began filing out. How do you feel? He asked. Different, Hana said, looking down at her openly displayed katana. For so long, I was 2 people, the translator and the warrior. Now I can finally be both. The galaxy will never see humans the same way again. Good, Hana said with a small smile. Maybe now they'll see us as we really are. People who hope for peace but prepare for anything. 3 months later, Hana stood in a new kind of conference room. It was on Earth, in the headquarters of the newly formed Galactic Peacekeeping Initiative. Around the table sat beings from dozens of different species, all working together to prevent conflicts before they could escalate. Zethmore was there, now serving as the Korthak liaison to human military advisors. Clickandra attended virtually, her image projected from a Hivan research station where she was developing new non-lethal weapons technologies. The Vega System Peace Treaty has been successfully implemented, Hana reported. Both Korthak and Hivan colonies are cooperating with reconstruction efforts. Any signs of remaining weapons trafficking? Asked Colonel Park Jinwoo, no longer pretending to be just a cultural attaché. None. The criminal networks that supported Thokran have been dismantled. Hana paused. It's strange. For 50 years we prepared for war, and now we're using those same skills to maintain peace. Perhaps that was always the point. Zethmore said thoughtfully, the strongest warriors are those who never need to fight. Through the conference room's windows, Hana could see Earth's blue oceans and white clouds. Somewhere up there, Human ships patrolled alongside alien vessels, protecting trade routes and investigating potential conflicts. The galaxy had become a more honest place, but also a safer one. Her katana still hung at her side, but now it was a symbol of protection rather than hidden threat. She was no longer just a translator and no longer just a warrior. She was something new, a guardian of the peace that all species could build together. The galaxy had learned that humanity was more dangerous than anyone suspected, but they had also learned that humans use that danger in service of something greater. The weak species that had joined the galactic community 50 years ago was gone. In its place stood a people who had proven that true strength came not from the ability to destroy, but from the wisdom to know when that ability should never be used. And in conference rooms and diplomatic missions across the galaxy, other translator warriors like Hana continued their work, building understanding between species while quietly keeping the peace.